Our next and last presentation is a twofer. It has two speakers, and I'll be speaking first. And the title of my presentation is Insider's Guide to Doing Business with the Military. And with that, if either Robert or Chris could roll the video, we'll be all set.
Hello, everyone. Our theme is how to take ideas from concept to product, and this presentation discusses this within the context of the development of military protective clothing. Claire King and I will both be presenters, but with different perspectives. I'll describe the process from the military's point of view, and Claire will describe her experiences from industry's point of view. In the military, and I'm sure like everywhere else, the fuel that makes the concept to product process happen is funding. We've funded most of our e-textile development through the Small Business Innovative Research Program, also known as the SBIR program. So I'll describe some of those experiences and successes, and I'll also describe the broad agency announcement process, which we refer to simply as the BAA. Soldier Center, where I work, is a tenant organization located at the Natick Soldier Systems Center in Natick, Massachusetts. I'm a civilian, and I work mostly with other civilians as well as contractors and military personnel. This slide describes our core competencies, which are the development of food, clothing, shelter, and airdrop for the soldier. We also do similar work for other services, and we do that for a fee. Soldier protection includes ballistics, camouflage, chemical and biological protection, flame protection, and so on. We develop the full clothing system and equipment, as well as the fabrics they are made from. And because electronic textiles are textiles, I develop them under soldier protection, but I transition them to my customers who work over on the soldier performance side, because they are responsible for power integration within the soldier system. This slide describes what we do, which is we develop technology to disrupt the enemy's kill chain in close combat. We identify the threats, we understand their mechanisms, develop defeats, integrate them within the soldier system, and then validate the results. Threats are defined as the weapons the opposition forces have and are likely to use. I mean, it all sounds easy, but it takes years to complete these steps. We work with other organizations, such as the intelligence community, to identify and characterize the threats in the context of our mission, which is protecting the soldier. Everything else, such as understanding the mechanisms and developing defeats, we work with industry and academia to accomplish. Our products can be reports, textiles, clothing, equipment, and test methodology. Just about everyone at Soldier Center has an area of expertise, be it chem bio, ballistics, flame and thermal, etc. And it's their job to make all of this happen. It's up to the subject matter expert, or SME as we call them, to determine what needs to be done to develop defeats in their particular area. They determine what technology to investigate. They develop the SBIR topics and the needs that are listed in the BAA. So it's a good idea to figure out who the SME is that works in the area that you're interested in. The BAA lists some of the SMEs in their respective areas of expertise. This slide describes both the SBIR and STTR programs. The STTR program is different from the SBIR program in that it requires working with a university partner, a federally funded research and development center, or other nonprofit. The SBIR program does not. Now, regarding size, for the purposes of the SBIR program, the government defines a small business as one with less than 500 employees. So if you are a big business, you can still participate, but as a subcontractor, not as a prime. And there are guidelines regarding the percentage of work you can do. Also, it's perfectly legitimate for a large business to approach a small business and ask to partner with them on a proposal for a particular SBIR topic, but the small business must submit the proposal. This describes the funding available from the SBIR office for each phase of the SBIR and STTR programs. Once a topic is announced, small businesses submit a proposal, and usually 1 to 3 are chosen for phase 1 contract award. Now, if that effort is successful, one of those is chosen for phase 2 follow-on funding. As you can see, the SBIR program is very generous. There are also phase 3 contracts, which involve commercialization, but that funding does not come from the SBIR office. It will come directly from the services. Okay, now on to our success stories. Back in the 1990s, I was supporting the Navy, who had a contract with Georgia Tech and Sun Reese and Jarman to develop the Sensate liner. I'm sure some of you are probably familiar with that. I thought their concept was really cool, but for Army applications, we needed some type of a wearable electronic network. So I put together a very broad SBIR topic and began development with a company called Foster Miller to include Brian Farrell, Trish Wilson, and Justina Teverovsky. I believe this was the very first e-textile effort that any of us had ever worked on, and under it we developed a variety of e-textile power and data buses. Soldier Center is still working this technology today, but it's focused on eliminating the cables, as can be seen, in the photograph on the right. We're currently developing flat fabric cables for use in IVAS, which is the Army's augmented reality system, and also for the Net Warrior communication system. As a follow-on effort to the development of the flat cables, we are continuing to develop wearable and washable connectors. One of the benefits we found going from the standard commercial off-the-shelf round cable to the flat fabric-based version is that we've been able to reduce cable weight by 50% and connectors by 25%. This is a tremendous benefit because a soldier carries everything on his or her back, and the ability to reduce weight, even just a little, is huge. We also developed the ultrasonic welding technology under SBIR, and it has truly been an enabling technology for us. It allows us to integrate and form circuits and networks within fabrics and seams, and also between fabrics. I've included this slide on washable wool treatments because this concept came from industry. So it's perfectly legitimate for an industry rep to approach a government SME with an idea for a SBIR topic. In this case, a representative from the American Sheep Industry Association approached me after learning that the domestic textile industry could no longer produce wool blend cushion sole socks for the military because the superwash treatment was no longer available in the US. Combat boots and cushion soled socks are very, very important to the Army. So we thought it was a great idea and put together a SBIR topic for it. As a result, both superwash and wool mercerization processes have been commercialized at the Chargeurs Wool USA plant located in Jamestown, South Carolina, and the demand for superwash wool has exceeded their original business projections. So not only do they provide washable wool for the military, but also for all washable wool hosiery produced in the US. Moving on to the BAA, most government organizations have a BAA describing ongoing business opportunities. It's a big wish list and is updated every few years. It's a fairly long document, and it also describes the white paper, proposal generation, and evaluation process. After every topic, it lists the associated SMEs and their contact info. So when you believe you have a technical solution to one of our problems, it's always best to contact the SME to determine their interest and the availability of funding. However, it's important to point out that the BAA does not come with automatic funding like the SBIR program. And while funding may not currently be available, it's sometimes possible for the SME to secure funds in the future. Some important takeaways are be aware of the agency's BAA and SBIR topics. When preparing a proposal, make sure the statement of work is clear and accurately represents what you plan on doing. The contract is awarded. Remember, the contract is legally binding. we link your reported progress via monthly reports directly back to your statement of work. So in closing, I just want to point out that the SIPR program is a great source of funds, and keep it in mind as you plan to develop e-textiles with the military.
Thanks everyone for the opportunity to give this presentation. And now I'd like to introduce the second speaker, who is Clare King. She is the president of Propel, which specializes in research and development of new textile technologies and specializes in human-centric design. She has transitioned many technologies to a variety of customers. Her presentation is titled Medical Trends in E-Textiles and the Development of Smart Wearable Patient Monitoring Devices for COVID-19.
Carol, I don't think that's my presentation. So I think I don't think that was my title, so I apologize if that title.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's what I was given, but go ahead.
Okay, what I'm going to do to that excellent presentation by Carol on the government perspective of SBIRs is talk about Propel's experience and try and impart some of the lessons we've learned over the last 15 years about using the SBIR program to advance technology, both for to assist the Department of Defense, but also for commercialization. And can I share my screen? Yeah, there we go. All right, let me just do that. So sorry about that. So anyway, just a short bit about Propel. Carol did an excellent introduction. We're in our 15th year, and our focus is really R&D to commercialization of textile technology. We've worked a lot on e-textiles. I've never actually had Carol be the technical manager on an e-textile project, but she and I have spent a lot of time discussing e-textiles and exchanging ideas over the years. And I did work with her as a subcontractor on the wool SBIR that she talked about. So we're very compliant focused. And for those of you on the call who don't know what that is the US law that textile products that are purchased with the Department of Defense funds have to be grown, processed, and reprocessed within the boundaries of the United States. And so fiber forward, so the example I always give is the wool that's used in that program came off sheep that ate American grass. So that's a simple explanation. We've had several SBIRs, and I'll talk about the history of how we began to do SBIRs. I founded the company in 2006. We're a small team, and we are, as I said, very focused on R&D to commercialization for DoD, but we're very solution focused. So we look at the problem and find the best solution rather than necessarily having a specific technology that we have developed and then are looking for a home for. We've had 6 phase 1s. We're currently in our 3rd phase 2. And we've got 3 more phase 2s that are in the process of getting written, awarded, etc. And we also have had what Carol briefly mentioned, phase 3s. And this is kind of the holy grail for SBIR companies, because one of the joys of SBIRs is that while you're being paid by the government to do the work, the data, the intellectual property, the government has what's called government use rights. They can use it internally, but they can't give it to another company. They can't put it into a solicitation. That continues to belong to the small company that did the SBIR work. And you have sole source rights with the government for anything that extends the efforts beyond phase 1 or phase 2. So this can be quite lucrative. There are many companies, and Qualcomm being one example that was founded with SBIRs. Even Google in the early days did SBIRs, and those SBIRs can lead to much bigger government contracts at a later date. And those contracts don't have to come from DoD, they could come from any part of the government. So with that, we've had, as I said, our major phase 3 that we're well known for is a steam suit that is used inside submarines should there be an accident on board a nuclear submarine. We've also currently got an IDIQ for face cloth covers, which I think we were able to win because we had such a deep knowledge of human-centered design to design something quickly that was low cost and used all US materials. I won't go through all our ongoing work, but relevant to this seminar is the smart textile work we're doing. I found it very interesting to see the previous 2 presentations because we've all worked in the a segment of measuring human physiology. We've all got different technologies as to how to address it. And we've all ended up with shirts that have no sleeves. So that's the one unifying thing across all of those designs. And we've done our project for the Navy, and we're currently awaiting human subject testing at NAVAIR. We're also working on an active heat boot for the Navy, for NAVAIR and Air Force. It's a joint SBIR, jointly funded by the 2 services, which is unusual. And it's for a boot that has to go down to -49 F for 6 hours. So I would say our major problem is overcoming the battery technology right now and making sure that we can provide enough heat within that boot without having a battery that is larger than the boot. So that, whoops. I don't see, there we go. So I just want to briefly talk about my first SBIR. We founded the company in 2006, did several subcontracts to others for their SBIRs, and I got my feet wet writing proposals or helping put them together. And then in 2012, we won a SBIR to develop a stitchless engineering toolbox to replace needle and thread and this was funded by the Navy. And Carol touched on size, weight, and power. So this is a dominant theme throughout the DoD. And here we were able to reduce size from the legacy to the prototype and a 30% weight reduction at the same time. So this made the technology of great interest. And it was from this work that we received the funding from the Office of Naval Research to develop the steam suit. So you'll see the steam suit on the right. We're kind of like a large Michelin man. In that steam suit, we took the weight of the incumbent system down by 11 pounds. And we also designed a suit that could fit from 5'2" to 6'5" in a self-adjusting system, because it's not that each submariner gets a suit. There'd be no room on the submarine. There are 2 fore and aft, and whoever needs to take care of an incident has to be able to wear that suit. So it had to self-adjust and on and off in less than 3 minutes. But what I want to allude to is that after we had this phase 2, which led to this steam suit, which we already had the funding for before we even got out of phase 2, we were led to believe by everyone at the Navy that we'd done an amazing job and that we would get the follow-on funding from phase 2 into what's called the option period of phase 2. So if you do a really good job in phase 2, that $1 million of funding, roughly, that Carol indicated, can actually go beyond that into an option phase before you even have to start looking for other forms of funding. And the option phase is really, yes, you've done a great job, you've brought it to a certain level of technology readiness, and we DoD, want you to transition that and get it ready for low rate manufacturing. So we thought we were getting that funding. And in February of 2018, I got a one-line email saying we weren't. So that completely upended our financial plan for the year. And I really realized at that point that the SBIR topic and the work you're doing it's bigger than that. You need to take it beyond just that one customer, and from the very beginning be selling forward your technology and finding parallel opportunities in order that can use the technology that you've developed that might be parallel or might be seemingly dissimilar, but can benefit from whatever your technology has to offer. I also started to participate in the Navy transition program, which they offer to all SBIR companies in phase 2. Currently, they're the only service that has this program. There is money that you yourself can spend to get assistance on marketing, etc., with the other programs. But this is a very defined program to help you find other customers, both within the Navy, and our experience is that it has taken us outside the Navy as well. So that program, being part of that program and taking advantage of it and exhibiting our technology and presenting it at every opportunity has allowed us to find other opportunities for that technology and also informed how we've gone forward. So currently we've got this 5-year contract for delivery of the steam suit. It's what's called an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity. We really don't know how many they will need. They think it's somewhere around 800, but it's hard to imagine that NAVC doesn't know, but they really don't quite know how many are needed for the whole system. We had a phase 3 with the Army carrying on the stitchless work, and I've got expectations that that will go further. And we're now in deep talks with Raytheon. Carole mentioned the primes, the large companies, and for example, Lockheed Martin, get on their list. You find their SBIR manager online. If you're interested in SBIRs, get on their list. And every time the SBIR topics come out, they will tell you which ones they'd be interested in supporting. So you as the small company in the phase 1 have to do 60% of the work, but Raytheon or Lockheed Martin or BAE Systems or one of the other large ones who own, say, a whole system that your technology could make a difference to, are great to partner with. And we've developed a very active relationship with Raytheon, happens to be in Rhode Island where we're located. And we're now working on a new phase 2 follow-on to a current phase 2 that only started in March. And that's all COVID-19 related as well. So how to start finding and winning SBIRs. Carole mentioned connecting to subject matter experts and talking to them about your technology. Good idea, kind of challenging to do from the business, from the government, from the small business point of view. Once you've developed a relationship, it's easier to expand that relationship to other SMEs that they may know that might be interested. My advice is to start looking at the SBIR topics as they are posted every quarter. You just go to DoD SBIR and you'll be able to see them. I think there are topics out currently now. And then look at the topics and see, could we do that? We at Propel don't expect to know how to solve a problem when we see it. It's more, can we apply our capabilities, knowledge base, tool base, etc., to that problem and have a feasibility story as to how we would address it. AFWorks has, which is the Air Force SBIR effort, has a very interesting approach right now where you can pitch using 15 slides if you have found a problem in the Air Force that you think a technology you've got that you need more funding to develop could address. When SBIRs are posted, talk to the topic author. You have, in the first 30 days of the 60 days that the topic is posted before you have to submit, you can talk to them. My advice is talk to them. And you will learn a lot because they've only got a page or a page and a half to put the topic together. And sometimes they did it months ago, and there are other things that have come up since then that they may be able to tell you about. And then my biggest advice is don't just do the topic because it sounds really interesting. That just makes you an R&D company for R&D's sake. Can you build a business? And the previous presenter this morning talked about, it doesn't have to be that you yourself will build the business. You could license the technology. You could spin out and sell off the technology. So there are different ways of doing business. But if you don't think there's a business at the other end of it, I don't know, from my point of view, I don't do those topics. And sometimes I get SMEs call me afterwards and say, we expected you to put in a proposal. And I just basically say, well, I don't see the business opportunity there. So we decided not to. Educate yourself on the SBIR process. If you can find courses to take, go to your Procurement Technical Assistance Center which every state has one, and see if they have courses. If not, see if there are other PTACs in other states that run them. There's an organization called BBC out of Minnesota, I think. They might be out of Minneapolis, I can't remember, but they do a lot of SBIR training, highly recommend them. The PTAC in Virginia is where I got my training, and they're really good and run lots of online classes. If your writing skills aren't good, find somebody to help you write it. They do not have to know your subject matter. They should be a good technical writer, and tell a story. And one of the things is that I took a number of short story writing classes in about 2017-18 at Brown, which is one of our local universities. And I found that my writing for the SBIRs improved, because writing a short story, you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You've got to be compelling. You've got to drive the reader forward. All of those you need to do in SBIRs. My last thing I would like to say is read the contract. If you're lucky enough to win an SBIR, do not assume the government is giving you a contract that is correctly written. You need to flesh out your capabilities with people who understand cost proposals, but also understand contracts. And if anyone wants to contact me afterwards, I've got some advice, specific advice on that. Market, already touched on that. Teaming agreements and subcontracts, very important to do correctly. None of this you will be told to do by your contracting officer or your TPOC. They don't know about that. You're going to have to find other ways to find out about it. And then learn about phase threes. The Navy and the Air Force put out a couple of really good books. I'm assuming that you will read the SBIR policy directive, which is essentially the law, but phase threes are different. And it's really good to always have in mind, where could your technology go? So if an opportunity comes up, you can tie it back to your original SBIR and get the SBIR data rights clause put into a phase 3 contract. And I just want to say that one of the opportunities we had was to present at the Consumer Electronics Show. So the DoD is a fantastic customer, and sometimes our products are very DoD specific. But if you've got things that could transition to the commercial world, and I think e-textiles is one place that could, then we were very lucky that the Navy SBIR program selected us for free position in the US Patent Office booth at the 2020 CES show. And that was a phenomenal exposure. And I'm just showing you on the right-hand side of the screen here, the smart shirt that we developed. Now, we're not really in the business of selling a smart shirt. We're really in the business of the integrated technology that allowed us to knit this garment in one, which is fire resistant as well. Doesn't have to be, but this one is. And we incorporated wool. So I incorporated a lot that I learned under that SBIR. And we have in there circuits knit into the textile that are able to transmit data and power back and forth, and then some unique sensors. So I hope I've given a quick overview from the business point of view. I cannot speak highly enough of the SBIR program because it is the biggest source of undiluted funds you will find. You don't have to deal with VCs. You don't have to sell any control of your company if you can leverage this program to success.
Thank you, Claire, for that outstanding presentation.